Let's start with the VB.NET. We have already discussed about .NET framework. Now let's have the introduction of VB.NET. VB.NET is very useful and effective object-oriented programming language implemented on .NET framework. .NET framework already being discussed. In object-oriented programming methodology, a program consists of various objects that interact with each other by means of actions. So when we consider a VB.NET program, it can be defined as a collection of objects that communicate via invoking each other's methods. It is, of course, a part of Microsoft Visual Studio.NET. It has a full access to all the libraries available in the .NET framework. Therefore, it becomes easy to develop web and Windows applications in less time and reduces the code. So we can say that VB.NET is a high-level language which supports OOPS concept implemented on .NET framework. Everything in VB is in the form of object and all objects inherit from the base class object. It has a full access to all the libraries in the .NET framework. So we can say that it is a widely used professional language because it is modern, it is general purpose, object oriented, component oriented, easy to learn, structured language and can be compiled on a variety of platforms. And of course, it is a part of .NET framework. Now let's discuss some basic terms involved in the object-oriented programming language before we proceed further. So what is object? Object, real-world entity. It consists of properties and behaviors. For example, human beings, they have the properties like name, color, height, etc. And the behavior like walking, reading, writing, etc. A dog has a state like color, name, breed, and behavior like barking, wagging, etc. So, object has two things, that is properties and behaviors. Then next is class. Class is blueprint that an object follows. Without the class, object is not there. Why? Because object is a type of it is an instance of a class, you can say. So class consists of number of objects and object is an instance of a class. Yes, that is, it follows the prototype defined by a class. It should have all the features which are being defined by the class. For example, students, a class student, they have the properties like name, roll number, etc. and the behavior like reading, writing, etc. So Harry, John, etc., they are the class, they are the student, they are the students and they follow all the properties and the behaviors of the class student. So what are the methods? Method is basically a behavior. A class can contain many methods. It is in methods where the logics are written and all the actions are executed. A class cannot invoke method of another class directly. For that, we have to use objects. That is, classes cannot communicate with each other. They can use methods of another class only through objects. Why? Because objects, they are the instance of the classes. And the behavior they have, that behavior can be communicate. The behavior of one class or methods of one class can communicate with the method of with the other class only through the instances called objects. So now question is, what can we do with VB.NET when it is so powerful? What type of applications we can develop with the help of VB.NET? See, there are lots of applications like Windows application, console application, web applications, then Windows services application, then applications for mobile devices. So these are the various services and applications which can be developed with the help of VB.NET. Now, let's have a small introduction about the Visual Studio.NET. In in VB.NET, we use Visual Studio. We can create new projects. So what is Visual Studio in VB? If we want to write a program, if we want to develop an application in VB.NET, we have to use Visual Studio. So what is Visual Studio? Microsoft Visual Studio is an integrated development environment, that is IDE, from the Microsoft. An integrated development environment is a feature-rich program that can be used for many aspects of software development. So it is used to develop computer programs as well as websites, web apps, web services, and mobile apps. So it is full of rich features for the programming for developing programs. Integrated development environment allows the automation of many of the common programming tasks in one environment, like writing the code, checking for syntax errors, compiling and interpreting, debugging, running the application. So we can say that this IDE, it contained all the elements, contain all the elements in one window, in the integrated form in one window, and all the tools are available at one place for the development of the program, which makes programming easy, fast and faster, and reduces the code. Now there are some terms which are being used, that is project and solution concepts. So what are the projects and solution concepts? We have already discussed that in VB we use Visual Studio. We need an IDE, and that IDE is visualstudio.net. And through that we can create a new project and the solution concepts. User creates a new project in Visual Studio. So if we want to do programming in VB, we have to use Visual Studio, and we will create a project in Visual Studio. A solution and a folder are created at the same time with the same name as the project. The project belongs to the solution. This solution is a solution window, which we will see later. Multiple projects can be included in a solution. And what is solution? It contains several folders. It's like, you can visualize it like a Windows Explorer. So what is solution? It contains several folders that define an application's structure. All the files and forms, they are in the Solution Explorer. Solution files have a file suffix of SLN. Then what is project? Project contains files for a part of the solution. Project file is used to create an executable application in VB.NET. A project file has a suffix of VB Every project has a type. See, we will see later how we choose the type of project, console project, Windows projects, and so on. Now let's see this start page of the visualstudio.net. Now what are these are the basically we have to install Visual Studio, and this is just an overview of how it looks like. Now the latest versions have already been come, but I have just given you the overview. Like whenever you install Visual Studio, you'll start with the start button or Windows button, and go to the Visual Studio, which you have already installed in your computers, in your desktops or laptops, and then press enter. So this is the first page, or this is a start page of the visualstudio.net. See, it has recent projects like this. You can open the already existing projects, or you can create the projects from here. So firstly, next, see, now if you want, see, if I want to create a new project, see, I click on this, create a new project, and then this new project we will create a new project, then this dialog box will appear, this new. So select the create project and option from the recent projects. See, from the this is the recent project window. We have to select this create option and box on the start page, and this dialog box will appear. So here we will choose VB, since we are working on the Visual Basic, so we will choose Visual Basic language. Then we will use Windows project, since we are working for the Windows, we will use Windows project. And then thirdly, we will use this Windows application. Okay, we are going to develop Windows application. These are the Visual Studio templates. So which template we are going to use? Windows application. Then we will name the project and press OK. Then after this, and these are the default settings which that project, the project we are going to create, it will take the default settings, like it will show the location of the project, where it has been stored, project template location, then your Visual Studio user item template location. And then next, yes, after pressing this, after this is a default setting, this, after pressing OK, when you choose Visual Basic, then Windows from templates, Windows application, then if you name it and then press OK, you will get this type of VB design form window in Visual Studio environment for creating an application. Now this is the form where you have to develop forms for VB.NET. But this form is not alone. It comes with this entire environment, and this environment is called IDE, that is Visual Studio Environment, Integrated Development Environment. Why it is called Integrated Development Environment? Because it is integrated with many windows. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, and it has many menu bars and tool bars. So let's discuss, let's have a brief look at this particular window, Now all the tools are available at one place for the development of the application. Now let's discuss all the elements in this environment. Number of elements which are available in this particular window. First is, you can start with top, it is menu bar. This is the menu bar. This is your first element of this IDE, that is Visual Studio.NET environment IDE. Then next, this is the toolbar. Second is your toolbar. Then there is a toolbox. See, this is the toolbox. It contains, what is the toolbox? It contains various controls. Contains collection of controls. What are the controls? Controls, they are the elements which are being used for the designing of the forms. We will see later also. Then this is a toolbox. This is a form design area. Form design area where we put controls and design the form. From here, we will drag the controls in the form according to a need and then design the form according to the requirement. Then there is a property windows. And what is property windows? This shows the properties of the controls. Here are the controls which we are going to drag in the form, into our form whenever required, can drag. And these controls, they have the properties in the properties window. So we can change the properties of the control according to our requirements. And if this property window is not being shown in this particular IDE, then we can get it by clicking on the view. We will go to the view menu, and then after view menu, properties windows, and that property window will come in its place. Now we can, through property windows, we can change the name of the control. Suppose the button is there in this form. We can name the button. We can change the color of the button and so many things. So we can change the properties of the control. We will discuss it later. This is just a brief introduction. Then we have a code window. Sorry, we have a ID, we have a code window. After if we drag some button here, we will double click it, we will get the code window. That is also part of this IDE. We will discuss it later. Now, then after this, so this window is called the Solution Explorer window. Now, this is an important part. This is very important part of IDE, because all the projects and the forms inside the projects or forms they are in the Explorer window. It is like Explorer window. Suppose this is form1.vb, form1.vb, so it has been shown in the Explorer window. By default, it will show only one form. It will show only one form in this, but in one project. Whenever we open the project, it will show only one form by default. But if we want to add many forms in one project, we can do it by project, whereby going to the project menu and then add Windows form. In this project, add Windows form. So we will then a dialog box will appear in which templates, Windows application template will get selected, and we will get the number of forms as desired with the help of this project menu. Now overview. This is a complete overview of the Visual Studio IDE along with the form and all things. Now this form. Now let's discuss about this form, this particular form. Let's have an overview of the VB form in the output screen. See, we work because of this. We work on this form, and this form will generate the output. But we work on this form with the help of these windows, with the help of these tools, and these tools and the form, along with the form, this makes a complete Visual Studio environment. So we cannot work without Visual Studio environment. Now, when we develop this form completely, and how this form looks like in the output screen, it looks like this. This is a Visual Basic GUI object called a form. This is a form. Now, forms are the windows and the dialog boxes that display when the program runs. And when we run the program, it will show like this in the form of a window or the dialog boxes. A form is an object that contains other objects such as buttons, text boxes, and labels, because everything is in the form of object. This form itself is object, and these buttons and these text boxes, they are itself they are also objects. So these are the objects. A form is an object and it contains other objects. Now let's discuss some parts of this form. The Visual Basic form controls or form elements. These are the elements or the controls which are dragged from the control box, which we have already seen in the IDE environment. And what are the form controls? So these are the form elements. These are the form elements which we can put into our form. Form elements, these are the objects again, and or the called controls, and this like this. This is a text box. See, this is a text box in which we can enter some values, we can write something. Then these are the label controls. What are the label control? These number of hours, this. So label controls, we can write this thing in our label controls, and these are the buttons. So these are some objects or some controls which are applied on our form. The value displayed by a control is held in the text property of the control. These properties are present in your property window. Now, left button text property is calculate gross pay button have methods attached to events. See this. This is a button. So whenever we press this button, some action will happen. So that button have methods. Say that buttons have actions attached to the event. And what are the event? Event is click. So whenever I click, whenever I do some event, some action will happen. some method will get activated. We'll discuss this in detail in later chapters also. So steps for create. Let's come to the steps for creating an application. How we start with an application in VB.NET. First of all, add a control to the form button, which first of all we have to drag the control or an element which is to be put into our form. Say in this case we are doing button, we are dragging the button. Now look in the toolbox. See, this is button, this is the toolbar, and first of all select the element which has to be dragged into your form. So we selected button 1 here. Here is your button. We drag it. First of all, we'll select the button, then we will drag it to the form. So what are the steps? Look into the toolbox for the button control. Select the button with the mouse. Draw a rectangle region in the design window by holding the mouse button down and release the mouse button to see your button. Can also be added by double clicking on the button in the toolbox. Whenever you double click, it will automatically come to the form, or you will drag the element into the form. So this way, whenever you press and drag it and release, the button will be displayed here. Now let's set, this is how our ID will look like. Now the control properties. Now what are the control properties? These are the properties, control properties. Now since we have dragged the button into our form, we will apply some properties to this button. Suppose button 1 is written over here, so we will write a name. We will like this. See, properties. All controls have properties. How all controls have the properties. Each property has a value. Each property has a value and determine the look and feel of a control set initially through the properties windows. And in this case, we have set only two properties, that is name and text. We have changed only name and text. Now, setting the control properties. How we have set the control properties? Click on the control in the design window. This is the control. Now, since we have dragged this from the control box, now this control is in the design window. This is a design window. Select the appropriate property in the, first of all, we will click here, and then the property window will be displayed, and then we will select the appropriate property in the properties windows. Suppose name is a property, and we have changed it with the, we have write button 1. So this control button 1 will be written in this control by changing the name with button 1 here. We can change the back color. See, back color, this. So control, when we change the back color, automatically back color will get changed for this control. Now event procedures. Now what are the event procedures? An event procedure is a block of code that executes only when particular event occurs. Events are basically a user action like key press, click, mouse movements, etc. So what are the event procedure? It is a block of statements which will get activated only when some event occur. Event means actions occurs. Writing an event procedure, how will we write? Create the event procedure sub. Suppose we have created a sub, then double click. Double click is an event. It will become a user action. So double click on the control from the design window. Whenever we double click, see, like this. If I double click on this, this becomes an event. The moment I do some action, some particular statements get activated. So create the event procedure sub, double click on the control. Suppose I double click on the button from the design window for default event for that control. Yeah, or open the code editor F7 or view menu code option. Select the control Then we have to select the control and select event from drop down windows in code editor. Add the event code to the event procedure sub, and after double clicking on the control or going through this method or either through this method, the code window will open and we will put the code into it. This, after double clicking on the control, this code editor or the code window will get open. See, this is how we open the code window. This is how the code window will get open. Now, this code window, after the designing the form, this code window will come. Now, this code window, here we can write the code. Here we can, after pressing the button. At the top of the, after designing, why we are using code window? Because after designing the form is inactive. But for making the form active, we will double click. See, till now our form is inactive. But till now this form is inactive. But on double clicking on the button, we will get this code window or the code editor. This is how a code window looks like. And it will make the form active. We will double click on the control to reach the code window for coding. Now every work is done through code window for form. For form, every work is done through this code window. See, at the top of the code window, we have this buttons, and this is declarations. Now we can go back to design window, right click on the code window. If we'll right click on this code window, we will get a view designer and we will go back to the design window. So we can always switch from design to code window and code window to design window. Now this is if I click on this, I'll go back to design window, and if this is activated, this is code window. See, we have two things here at the top of the button. As I have already told, this is buttons and this is event. Now here we are suppose I have named my button as, through property box, I have named it as button welcome. So I'll write this control with what event to apply on this control, click. So on click on this particular click event for this particular control, the code will get activated. Now select the event for the event procedures. We have already select the control, like this is the control which we have selected. Now we will select the events from the declaration. Why we are declaring events? Because event is an action for the event procedure, so that as soon as some action take place, the procedure get activated. So select the click event from the list of many available events. Suppose in this case we are selecting this click event. So as soon as this event gets on this control, some lines of statements should get activated. So buttons have 57 possible events they can respond to. There are so many events for buttons they can respond to. Thank you. This is in continuation with our last video. So we were discussing in our previously that this is the button, and this is how we include the event, which is to be applied on the control. Now the next slide is add the event code. After we have selected the control and the type of event to be applied on the control, after the event or the action when taken place on the button, say button, what type of statements to be executed, what action to be executed, add the event code. That has to be added into the code. So write the code that you want to that you want executed when the user clicks on the button welcome. So when the user click is the event which we have already selected, and this is the button which we have selected in our previous slide. See, this is the control which we have selected, and this is the event which we have selected. So now we have to write the code which has to be get executed after the click on this button. Type message box welcome to the Visual Basic. So this is the code code window. This is a code window. So this type of procedure will look like this: private sub this, button name, event name, and we will write inside this procedure, we will write message box welcome to the Visual Basic. So this message function will display a message box in which welcome to the Visual Basic will be written, and this must be contained within the event procedure sub. See, this is the event procedure sub and end sub, and this coding, it is within the sub. This is a procedure sub. Now writing the Visual Basic code. So what are the, say we have to follow some rules. Yeah, we should know some rules while writing the Basic code. It is not case sensitive. Visual Basic will correct case issues for you. Keywords are always in blue. Special reserve words, see like this, private sub, these are in blue. Comments in green. Problems with syntax will be underlined in blue, like this. Now switching to design window. So when we are coding with the code window, there is always option to switch over from design view to code window and code window to design window. You can switch between the design window and the code window once opened by clicking on the tabs at the top of the design and the code window. Like this is a design window, this is a code window. So you can always switch from one window to another while designing the window. We are while developing an application. So design and code windows, where in this case, what are the design and code windows? Form1.vb design is a design window, and form1.vb is a code window. Now, once we open the project or create the project, then we created a form, we run. Now at last we have to run the form, run the application. Now click the run icon on the standard bar or press F5. This is how we run the project. Now this will begin the program. Now after running, the program will begin to execute. Display the form like this. It will display the form like this, and nothing will happen waiting on an event. See, this is how a program run. It will display the form like this, but nothing is happening here. It is just showing the form. It is waiting for an event. That is, as soon as we press this button, event means as soon as we click, as soon as we show some action on this button, it will automatically display the things written in the code window. Execute which are written in the code window. Sometimes what happen in general, I just tell you, right? Yeah. So test. Now this is how we run the, now test the events and save the project. Click on the say welcome. See, say welcome. Now how to run the application? Click on the say welcome button. The message box will be displayed welcome to the Visual Basic. Whenever you press the button, it will display the things written on the code window, and we have already discussed, we have written welcome to the Visual Basic. Now once you run the program, now you have to save the project. Visual Basic applications are made of several files, often even several forms. Now make sure to save your work as go to file menu, then file menu, and then press save all or Control Shift plus S, and this is how you control your save your project. whenever you run, before I just want to tell you one more thing in general, that whenever you run your project, suppose we create a project, by default it will give you only one form, but sometimes it is required to have so many forms in your project. Then whenever you run your or you have whenever you run your application or project, it will start with the first form, but maybe you need at that particular time you need fourth form to get start with. So for that, first of all, before running the project, the forms in the project, we have to select the startup form. Now startup form, and then we will for that we will go to Solution Explorer. See, I just showed some backslides. Solution Explorer, wait a minute. uh, yeah, so for that, if you want to run this, you go back to the Solution Explorer and choose the project you want to run, and choose the project, and then priority is to choose the project and then see the form which is to be prioritized. Suppose you want form 1.vb should run first. So then among the multiple, there are multiple forms and you want form 1 to get run, then you start with that form. Then we have to select the starter form, and from my project starter form, and fill that starter form with this particular form. Then whenever you run your program, it will start with the required form. So this is all about introduction about VB.NET, and how you make a project in VB.NET under the Visual Studio environment, and how you save your projects, and how you put control elements into the form, how you design the form and see the form, and apply properties and run the form, save the project, or you can open the project, you can save the project. This is all about your VB.NET introduction. Thank you. So this is